Hi guys, welcome back. Now we're going to look at a review for the final for KC2. So starting with 13 here. So we have this graph, f of x equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. We're going to use it to answer 13, 14, and 15. So remember, domain is always negative infinity to infinity because it always goes to the left and the right along the x-axis from negative infinity to infinity. The range, we look up and down for the range. So our lowest range value, that lowest y value is -4. And we're going to go up all the way on and on and on forever to positive infinity. The x-intercepts are anything that crosses the x-axis, which is right there and there, which are x equals -1 and x equals 3. There's two answers. We've seen it before with we write it as a ordered pair, so -1, 0 and 3, 0. That means the same thing. Okay, target 2B. Add, subtract, and multiply polynomials to show why the solution is equivalent. So here we are subtracting. So we look for the like terms. So 9x squared and 6x squared. And again, I said this, but pay attention to the sign in the middle. We are subtracting. So 9x squared minus 6x squared. That gives us 3x squared. Highlight that. Our next one, we have 8x, a positive 8x, and a positive 4x. So we want to subtract those. 8 minus 4 is a positive 4x. And then lastly, be careful because we're subtracting a -10. Subtract a -10 turns into a positive 10. And there's our final answer. Number 17, multiply. Okay, so remember when we're multiplying, we set up our Punnett squares. Okay, so here's my squares, 11y, positive 3, and then 2y and the -4 along the side. And then we multiply and put that in the box. So 11y times 2y is 22y squared. 3 times 2y is a positive 6y. 11y times -4 is -44y. And then 3 times -4 is -12. And then I'm going to take each of these 4 boxes and just copy them down in one horizontal line. Because that will help us remember to combine our middle terms, our y's. Okay, so when I do that, 6y minus 44y, you could plug that in the calculator, but that is -38y. Okay, and then I just copy the 22y squared and the -12, and that is our final answer. 18. Multiply again. Remember, this squared on the outside just means c plus d multiplied by c plus d again. So we set up our Punnett squares. Okay, c and d along the top and c and d along the sides. So c times c is c squared. C times d is a positive 1. So 1 times 1 is the coefficient. CD. Some of you just write that as CD. I'm going to put that 1 in there to help us later on. C times D again, the coefficient 1 and 1, so that still stays a positive 1. C, D. Lastly, D times D is D squared. So I'm going to take each of these 4 boxes and just copy it in one line, just like we did in the above problem, and that's because I need to combine my middle terms. In this case, it's the CD terms. So 1 CD plus 1 CD. This is why I wrote the coefficients as plus 1, because that's going to be a plus 2 CD. Okay, and we still have C squared in front, and we still have plus D squared as the last term, and all of that together is our final answer. Target 2C, factoring. Okay, so the first thing we always check for is a GCF. 19 does not have a GCF, so we don't need to divide by anything. We do need to remember that the middle term we want to add to, and the last term we want to multiply to. Okay, so when we factor, we start again with Punnett squares, except for we fill out the inside and work out. So our first term, x squared, that goes in this first box, x squared. Our last term, negative 12, don't forget the negative, that goes in our last box. Okay, and it's our job to fill out the other 2 remaining boxes. So we need to look for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 12. So we go to our factors cheat sheet. Looks like this. And our factors cheat sheet here, we can have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. So I'm going to copy those down. I'm just going to copy what that box says. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. That's what it says. So we want one of those pairs that will also add to a positive 4. And I see that the 2 and 6 are 4 places from each other, so I think that's going to be our best bet here. Right? Add to a positive 4. Right? So then we need to figure out which one's positive and which one's negative. Well, since it's a positive 4, I want the greater number to be positive. Well, that means the 6. Okay? So that means we have a positive 6. Multiply that by a negative 2, and that is negative 12. Okay? Then we need to check that they add. So a positive 6 plus, I'm going to erase these. I don't need those. A positive 6 plus a negative 2. Plug that in our calculator, and you will see that it gives us a positive 4. So we're good to go. So in these boxes, I want 6x and negative 2x. Okay, when I fill out the outsides of the box now, to get x squared, we write x and x. Out here, since we have 6x, we need the 6 up here. Along the side here, negative 2x. So out here, we need the negative 2. And those along the top and the side are our factors. So I'm going to write that out in our answer here, highlighted in green. So x plus 6 in parentheses and x minus 2 in parentheses equals 0. And that's all we have to do because all it said was to factor. Okay, number 20, solve. Okay, so the first step in this one is to move the 121 to the other side of the equal sign. So if it's x squared is equal to a positive 121. And to undo a squared, we take the square root. So square root squared, undo each other, we're left with x equals. Remember, whenever we take a square root, it's always a plus or minus now. And the square root of 121, you can plug in your calculator, but that gives you 11. So x is plus or minus 11. Oops, I'm not quite done here yet. Okay, so what that means then, we saw the factor. We're going to put those in our factors. Okay, so the x and x is still first, so that means we put a negative 11 as one of our numbers and a positive 11 as the other part of each of our polynomials there. Okay, so that's the factor part. And then if we solve, we can take x minus 11 equal to 0, x plus 11 equal to 0, and solve. To do that, on this one, add 11 to both sides, so x is equal to 11. On this one, I'm going to subtract 11 on both sides, x is equal to negative 11, and we are done. For 21, I see a number out front here, so that should be a red flag for looking for a GCF. So I'm going to divide each of these numbers by 3 to simplify and factor out that GCF. Okay, so 3x squared divided by 3 is just x squared. 27x divided by 3 is a positive 9x, and you can do this in the calculator if you'd like. And then 42 divided by 3 is a positive 14. Okay, this is equal to 0, and we do need to remember that we have to write our GCF, the number we divided by, out front. And then we factor, okay, the part in the parentheses. Okay, so if I factor, I fill out the inside. So x squared will go in the first box. And then the last box is a positive 14. So that goes here as well. And I look for two numbers that multiply to a positive 14 and add to a positive 9. So I'm going to go over to my factors cheat sheet. And I'm going to look for 14. Here it is. And I have 1 times 14 or 2 times 7. One times 14 and then 2 times 7. Okay, so I'm just going to write that down so I can see. And I need them to add to 9. It looks like 2 and 7 is going to work. And to double check, I would need both of them positive. So 2 times 7 is a positive 14. That will work. If I add them, 2 plus 7 gives me a positive 9. That will also work. So I have found my factor. So then, in the box, 7x and 2x. Okay, fill out the outside. To get x squared, we need x times x. To get 7x, I need the 7 along the top up here. And to get 2x, I need the 2 along the side here. So my factors, x plus 7, x plus 2, don't forget the GCF out here. So 3x plus 7, x plus 2 equals 0. And then the last step on this one, we are asked to solve, so we need to set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve. So I will do that in red. I'm going to do x plus 7 equal to 0, x plus 2 equal to 0. Subtract 7 on both sides. X equals negative 7. There's one answer. Subtract 2 on both sides. X equals negative 2. There's our other solution. Okay, guys, go ahead and watch this next video for these last 3 problems on target D.